I'm going to be answering your questions as always. And I'm also going to be sharing some things. I just got done with my morning, what I do in the morning, which is checking in with my clients, my one-on-one clients and my group clients. So before I talk about that, I had a question come in that my 8-year-old eats like 10 things max. So if you've got any child, let's ignore the age to start off with. If you have a child that is eating less than 20 foods, that is one major red flag. And the reason for that is because if your child is not eating a variety from all the food groups, they're not getting all the nutrients that they need. It's just not possible. And one of the guidelines in terms of it's an American guideline, it's an Australian guideline, is to be really focusing on variety. And so if your child is only eating 10 foods, even if 10 foods, even if the 10 foods are all from the different food groups, they're not possibly getting enough variety. They're not possibly getting enough nutrients. It's just not possible. So that's the first thing. And another red flag that is often not talked about, so like there's the number of foods, there's the variety is a big thing. But another red flag is if it's impacting you and your child, which it almost always is. You're here looking for help because it's impacting you. As your child gets older, probably with your 8-year-old, you might already know that it's impacting their ability to socialize with people. It's hard for them to go out to dinner. It might be hard for them to eat at a friend's house. It might be difficult if you go to a potluck or like if you go to church. Like these are just some of the things that my clients have told me about that is a struggle for them with their children, because I work with clients that do have older kids, 9, 10, and 11. And at that age, it is really stressful because they are going out, they are eating at school, they're eating, at a friend's house, they go out to dinner, and it's impacting them socially. So that's one thing, that's one red flag, that it's impacting them. And then another red flag is that it's impacting you. So again, I'm saying this because this is what my clients tell me. It's what parents tell me in lives or in DMs or on a discovery call. They'll say, like, this is consuming my thoughts. I am dreaming about this. I am waking up in the night, or I'm not able to sleep at night because this is something that worries me so much. So if that's the case, that is impacting your mental health. And that's a red flag. Feeding your child should not impact your mental health. And this is something that's very close to my heart. I don't really talk about this so much on TikTok, but I've been extremely vocal about it on YouTube and on Instagram, that I myself had postpartum depression and anxiety, partially because of my living situation, but in big part, it doesn't really matter about that actually, but I had it and I talk about it because mental health impacts a lot of areas of being a parent. And if there's something that I can share, one of the reasons that I say in almost all my videos, the sooner you get on top of it, the better, because I felt this exact same way with my mental health. I didn't even know I had these issues with my first daughter. I didn't find this out until almost 6 months after my second daughter was born. And I wish I had known, because I would have loved to have gotten help earlier. Okay. I kind of feel like I was robbed of that time with my first baby and the first 5 months of my second baby, because I just didn't even know it was a problem. So the reason I share and talk about red flags so much is because this is my area of expertise. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So the mental health stuff, not so much. I mean, I've been having I see a psychologist. However, in terms of sharing red flags about feeding, because I want you to know that it's a problem, in the sense that it empowers you to get help and it empowers you to make changes. If you're just like bobbing through life thinking like, oh, it's just this difficult to feed my child and they just don't eat, and then I just make them extra food and I make 3 meals every day and it's just like really shitty and that's just normal. It's not normal. I want you to know that, because that's what's going to empower you. Okay, so if you're on Instagram and you have questions, put them into the little bubble that has the question mark so I can tap on them. I'm seeing a ton of questions come in on TikTok, so I'm going to answer a few of those as well. Just while I'm scrolling up and having a look at them. So this morning I was in my small coaching group, and I've got one mum in there, and I'm going to be brutally honest. This is hard. It's hard. It's not like you join my group and you're like, oh, it's easy, like everything's fixed, and like it's not like that. This is messy, it's difficult, it takes intention, and it takes accountability. So this mum, she's struggling to not make a separate meal when her child refuses a meal. She shows love through food, and this is a big challenge for her. So one of the things I told her is to utilize our private chat this week, like really utilize it. I told her you can use it every day. You can use it multiple times a day. I come in and check it usually every day, every other day, and I reply. And so you have a lot of support with me between our calls. So we do a call every week, and everyone gets off the call. They're like, I'm so pumped, I'm excited, I'm ready to go. And then you get off the call, and then 3 days later, like you're back to work, you're tired, you might have another kid. Some of the mums have 2 other kids. You're tired. It's hard to keep up the momentum. Momentum. I've got a slightly blocked nose. It's hard to keep up the momentum. So that being said, having an accountability partner, and everybody in the group, the group is usually around 8 or 9 parents. It's very small so that I can truly support you. But all the other mums are in there commenting and sharing, like, hey, you can do this, or hey, that was hard, or hey, this happened to me. And this is, there's a lot of support. And this is one of the reasons that, going back to the mental health stuff I was talking about, when I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety, I would have loved to have like a group of other moms going through the same thing so that I didn't feel like I was so alone. And so that's one of the reasons I created this group, is so that parents who are going through similar struggles can connect with each other and support each other. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, so this mom, I replied with a voice note because we need to talk about some of the conversations to have. So her son, she fed him some what was it? I think it was a chip dipped in the runny yolk of an egg, and he didn't know that that's what it was going to be, and he threw up. So it's not as simple as like, well, don't do that. I went in and I left. It was like a 3 or 4 minute message. Sometimes I leave a 10-minute message because there's just that much to get across. And like, you can see this from the live, like, it's really hard for me to answer one question because it's never that simple. So I went and gave her some really specific pointers of what she can do and how she can have a conversation with her son about that, so that he's not afraid about this egg business, and so that he can be empowered to feed himself. So this is what we're working on. All right. So Instagram people, please put your questions into the chat. Not into the chat, sorry, into the little question bubble. How do you address a child who always wants a snack right before bedtime? I don't want them to wake up in the night hungry, but I also don't want to make it a habit of eating before sleep. You've got to keep to your schedule. I've got a tutorial on YouTube specifically about schedules, how to make your own schedule, because my schedule probably won't work for you. I've worked with clients that have kids that wake up really late in the day and they stay up really late at night. That's completely different to my schedule. So this YouTube tutorial will help you set up a schedule that works for your family based on your wake hours and sleep hours and that type of thing. I don't recommend you give in and give a snack right before bed. You have to be consistent with it. You either have a snack every night or you don't have a snack. I don't see a question bubble. There should be like a little circle with a question mark in it. If not, it's okay. I've just answered. I think that was you that I just answered your question. No, somebody else. There should be a little bubble with a question mark. All right. I see a bunch of messages, questions. Okay, so this mom says, yes, I'm stressed about it. He used to eat different foods. So this is the 8-year-old. He used to eat different foods when he was a toddler. It's gotten worse as he's getting older. Yeah, look, unfortunately, that's what happens. I see this too. Like, I've worked with a lot of parents who have kids. I've worked with a few that have 8, 9, and 10-year-old kids. And they all say it started when they were a toddler and everyone just said it would get better. And it didn't, because it usually doesn't. Like, sometimes it miraculously does, but I say it like doesn't just magically get better. You don't just magically fix a problem that's been going on for years. I've tried to bribe my son to try new foods, and 9 times out of 10, he doesn't like it. Yeah, because if I bribed you to do something, you probably wouldn't like it either. Imagine if I want to try to make this a non-food example. Imagine if you are really afraid of heights, and I said, let's go skydiving. I just picked something that I'm scared of. I don't want to go skydiving. That sounds like the worst thing in the world to me. Okay, but to somebody else who loves skydiving, they might be like, Talia, you're gonna love skydiving. Seriously, it's the best thing ever. Like, let's go skydiving. You're gonna love it. So first of all, they're convincing me that I should love this thing. And I'm like, I'm not gonna love this. I know I'm not gonna love this. And then if they start bribing me, oh, Talia, I'll give you $1,000. Or Talia, I'll buy you a puppy. Or Talia, whatever. Like, we'll go to your favorite restaurant. I'm still not going to want to do the thing. You've got to work with me on figuring out why I'm afraid to try skydiving. We need to have a conversation about it. A lot of what I work on with clients, and what you'll see if you ever do one of my courses, I have 3 courses actually, one for babies, one for toddlers, plus. So you can start if your kid is over 12 months plus. I've had parents up to 10 take the course and do really well with it. And one about sweets. So if you're dealing with sweets and a picky eater, chances are the underlying issue is the picky eating. So you need to work on both. And I would recommend my course bundle for that. So if you're trying to bribe me, what I'm saying is you're trying to bribe me to do something. Yeah, of course I'm not going to want to do it. You're trying to convince me to do something I don't want to do. I'm going to dig my feet in, and I'm scared that you're going to try to actually make me go skydiving. Your son is scared that you're going to try to make him eat this food that he doesn't want to eat. So we need to work on the underlying issue of, why am I scared to go skydiving? Why is your child afraid to try this food? Not bribe them and try to talk them out of why they're afraid of it. So that is a big mindset shift. And the type of conversation that you have, or that I will have you have with your child, is going to be very different than the conversation of bribing. Okay. Double tap if that makes sense. If you've got more questions, like just stick them in. I've got a little bit more. I'm going to have a timer go off in the other room because I'm doing a lot of washing this morning, and I got to go and get that done. Okay, so there we go about bribing. So this kind of goes on. This is a great question. Dancing for desire. My 6-year-old son gags and cries and absolutely refuses to try new foods. Goes hand in hand with what I was just saying about bribing. Your child doesn't want to do this thing, and you're making them. This is a very intimate thing. Putting something in your mouth, it's very intimate. I'm just looking like around at what's on my desk. Like, I just put my water bottle in my mouth. That's fine. But putting something else, like, I'm not going to put my mouse in my mouth. And I'm not even afraid of licking this. I mean, I haven't cleaned it in a long time, so it's probably quite dirty. But like, imagine if it was a food that you didn't want to put in your mouth. Imagine if it was something else you didn't want to put in your mouth. It's a very intimate thing, putting something in your mouth. You are not going to want to do it if someone is bribing you and forcing you to do it. You would probably gag as well. Like, so this is why those forms of overt pressure don't work. You might work in the short term, where, like, if you were sitting next to me and you said, Talia, lick it, just lick it. Just lick the damn mouse. I might lick it, but I'm not going to come back every day and when you're not here telling me to lick it and be like, I'm just going to sit here and lick this mouse. I'm not going to do that. And in the end, you want your child to eat vegetables because they want to eat vegetables. They're not going to want to eat vegetables if they are forced to do it, if they are bribed to do it. You want a child who, when they're 20 years old and not under your thumb anymore, I don't mean to say it like that, not under your thumb, but like when you're not bribing them, if they go to a restaurant with their friends when they're 15, you want them to order a salad or order a salad for the table and have some of it because they want to. That's where you want to be in the long term. That's the long-term goal here. However, there's my reminder, start the washing. Hopefully it stops. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's reminding me to put my washing in. It stopped. Great. So that's the long-term goal. However, if you're too busy in the short term, like, just eat it, just try some. Here, eat it, lick the mouse, like, do it now. It's going to end up that your child is not going to want to do those things in the long term. So you're really working against yourself. Thank you for the roses. That's very kind. So if the food he likes smells, looks, or feels different than he's used to, it's a no. Yeah, totally. I work with clients that are just like that. And sorry, I've got somebody here who's distracting me, and I'm going to remove them. Block. Thanks. Great. Someone said here, oh my God, tell my wife that. What do you want me to tell her? So if it smells and looks funny or different, yeah, that's exactly like you might have missed the little bit. You might have missed the bit where I was talking about the client that I have right now who's working with her child to not make separate meals for him because he said no to something. So, and when he ate the runny yolk, he gagged and he threw up. I've worked with many clients that do that as well. And there's a large part of flexibility that we have to work on. So we need to help you be more flexible, for one thing, and you do that by modeling to your child flexibility, and that's going to help your child become more flexible. So these things are really, really important. And this is where nutrition meets psychology. We eat for certain reasons. We don't like most of us would eat beyond being full. Most of us are happy to have dessert. Most of us have these this is psychology where nutrition and psychology interweave. They come crashing in together, and we need to once you're dealing with a child, you're dealing with your own shit that you have from when you were a kid yourself, and then you're also like worried about your child, which is a great thing. It shows that you're a caring parent to be worried that your child's not eating enough, or you're worried that they're not eating enough, or not eating enough variety. But it's the way you go about helping them increase their variety. And this is what I help my clients with. This is what my courses do. In fact, my online courses, my bestseller is Mealtimes Without Meltdowns. It's $149. It works out to be $3 a lesson, and you have access to it forever. If you're working on like a lot of, put a poll in my Instagram stories yesterday asking parents if they were working on picky eating or like sweets fixations and normalizing sweets and desserts so they become so that your child doesn't grow up to have a fixation on sweets and raid the cookie jar. Like so many stories that I hear of parents my age or older, or parents that when they went off to college, they like went nuts on eating junk food and stuff. Junk food. And the reason for that is because it wasn't normalized for us. We need to break this cycle. And in order to do that, we need to shift our own mindset. We need the tools in order to actually do this. So if you combine my Mealtimes course with the sweets course that I have, you get a discount when you buy the bundle, and you can work on both, because almost always picky eating is the underlying issue, because sweets are so easy to like. Of course, everybody, like if you don't like eating vegetables, and someone gives you a chocolate or gives you a lolly, well, it's sweet. We have a natural inclination to want to eat sweet foods. So it's very easy for us to like that food. And then parents get worried, they're only eating cake, they're only eating this thing, they're only eating dessert. I'm not going to put it on the plate, which is what I recommend you do. I'm not going to put it on the plate anymore because they're only going to eat that food. So you need to be equipped with the tools to work on the underlying issue of picky eating, and also work on the sweets fixation so it doesn't become a thing. Again, we're looking at the long-term goals here, not how do I get this to get fixed now? How do I get them to not eat the dessert now or just restrict it now? That's not going to give you the long-term results that you want, where your child has a healthy relationship with food and your child does choose to order and eat vegetables when they go out for a meal. My son will not even try it. He won't even put a new food in his mouth. Will your online course help? Yes, it will, because I'm guessing, let me ask you a question. He's resistant. How old is he, for one thing? Doesn't really matter how old he is, whether he's 2 or he's 10. If he doesn't want to put the food in his mouth, are you trying to convince him that he should put it in his mouth? Because if you're trying to convince him to put, he's 5 years old. Okay, so he has a mind of his own now. Are you trying to convince him? Here, try some. You're going to like it. Will you try some for me? I worked really hard to make it. It's yummy. Try some. If you're saying things like that, and I know that these are just normal things that people say. Yeah, these are just normal things that we say. And sometimes when I post a video and I share stop saying these things, and yummy is one of them, people get very angry. And I think that you get angry, not you, but I think people get angry because it's like a normal thing that everybody says. Like my mum says it all the time to my kids, all the time. And I try to remind her often, hey, can we describe the food's texture and taste? Is your chocolate bar crunchy? Is it soft? Is it melting? Is it sweet? Is it like, let's discuss this in more detail, rather than just saying it's yummy. So yes, my online course will help, but truly, if you're having some really major issues here, when you enroll in my group program, and I have my group program actually is starting. Let me grab my calendar. I think it starts next week. This is the last week to enroll. 4 spots are already taken. Like I said, I keep the groups really small, and it's an 8-week program. If you want my support, like I was saying earlier, there's a group chat, there are weekly calls. I will support you through the entire 8 weeks. You have me in a private chat with the other parents that you can post. I encourage you. The more you post, the more I can help you. The more you tell me about your situation at home, the more I can help you with it. You have me in your pocket for those 8 weeks to answer your questions and help you troubleshoot in real time. And if that's something that you're interested in, go to the link in my bio. It's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, and click on group coaching. And if you have a question, like there's more information when you tap on group coaching. But if you have another question, send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook ASAP, because like I said, the registration's closing in less than a week, and I can help you. And you also get access to the online course, Mealtimes Without Meltdowns, when you register. So if you register today, you'll get an email with a code to access the course for free. And I want you to start on that today, so that you can come prepared to the first call. So if you're thinking about it, I'd like you to invest the time sooner rather than later going through the online course, so that when you come to the first call, it makes the calls more effective and efficient, because I don't have to go through the stuff that's already in the course. You already have the background knowledge of like, this is what we do at mealtimes. This is a list of stuff that we say. This is what a mini meal mindset snack is. This is how I make my schedule, all those sorts of things. Okay. To encourage your kids to not want sweets is to not deprive them. Yeah, mama. Or dad. I don't. Yeah, you are. Your name is actually mama. Yes, to not deprive them. You asked me with a question mark. Correct. The more you deprive someone of something, the more they want it. Have you ever put yourself on a diet where you say, I'm not eating sugar, I'm not eating this, I'm not going to eat that thing? That's all you think about. Same thing with your kid. This is awesome. This is exactly what we need. It is now rubbing off on my younger daughter also. What's rubbing off on your younger daughter? When a child seems hungry, even though they eat all their meals and snacks, what do you do? Are you allowing them to have seconds and thirds and as much as they want? Are they actually filled up at meals and snacks? Because for the most part, I do recommend you give additional serves, like as long as it's available. Like if you run out of something, it's different. And if you're out and about and you've taken a really decent portion and they're done, it 100% works. We do it now with our 2-year-old, and often the treat part is left out. I was skeptical. Yes, you make me like, yay. Yes. And the fact that you started early, your child is 2. So the recommendation is not to give like sweet foods or anything that has added sugar in it before your kid is 2. And that's really to maximize the nutrition that they get. The calories they need needs to be really jam-packed with nutrients. And if you give them added sugars, those types of foods that tend to have added sugars tend to be low in nutrients. So that's why they recommend that. But you started really young. I did the exact same thing with my kids. They still love, like they stay, like especially my little one, my older one now is 6. Like she knows she likes sweets and cakes and stuff, but it's never been restricted from her. And if it makes it much easier for her when I say it's not available, she just kind of moves on because she knows she's going to get it again soon. Okay. No matter what I do or say, my toddler, she refuses to eat most things. She only wants bread, cheese, and some fruits. I always put all different foods on her plate and end up having to toss it. Well, are you making her something else? Like if she doesn't eat the food that you put on her plate and then you say you're tossing it, are you then putting something else on her plate? Because this is exactly what I described earlier on with one of my group clients. That I gave her some support today specifically because she made a commitment to me that we are not making separate meals this week. This is something that we were doing earlier in the group. No more separate meals. As soon as you start doing separate meals, you are screwing yourself, and you make picky eating worse because your kid learns, oh, I don't have to eat that. I will get another option. So if you're still on the live, let me know. But I'm going to have this live saved on my Instagram and on YouTube, actually. So if you're on TikTok and you're just joining now, but you wanted to hear the rest of it, you'll be able to go over to my Instagram page and watch it. But yeah, if your child is not trying things, I want to know, are you trying to get them to try new things? Are you bribing them? Here, try some. It's delicious. It's yummy. You'll like it. Because those are all the things that are going to make the resistance worse from your child. And so for that, if you need help, if your kid is young and you're getting started early, you can probably get away with my online course, Mealtimes Without Meltdowns. However, if you've been dealing with this for a while, you're probably so burnt out and annoyed and confused and frustrated about what to do. You probably need more support. That's seriously why parents sign up to work with me in my groups, because I'm there to provide you this high level of support throughout the entire 8 weeks. Group chat between calls and on calls every week. Yes, I'd make something new because I'm scared she won't eat. It's exactly like this mum that's in my group. I sent her a voice message this morning, right before I did this live stream, of what she can do so that she doesn't have to be doing that, and how she's going to have a conversation with her kid about that. This is important. You're really stabbing yourself in the foot, in the back, shooting yourself in the foot, stabbing yourself, whatever you want. You're really doing yourself a disservice by doing this, and you're making it worse for your child as well. And I know that's very blunt to say, but like I said at the beginning of this live, if you don't know it's a problem and that that's not, quote, normal, I'm doing you a disservice by not telling you. Honestly. Okay, someone put a question in my thing. How much are the group courses? Okay, so my online course, Mealtimes Without Meltdowns, is $149 US. It works out to be about $3 a lesson if you're working on sweets fixations as well as picky eating. Grab my course bundle. You have unlimited access to these. Like, once you buy them, your access doesn't expire. You can go back in 2 years and rewatch a module if you want to. And I recently upgraded the Mealtimes course, so it has like a bunch more handouts and mindset exercises and printouts and stuff in it. The group program is $998 for the 8 weeks. And with that, I know that seems like, oh my God, it's so much money. However, what you're getting with that is you're getting an accountability partner, me, for the entire 8 weeks. You have access to an online private chat with me and the other mums in the group, or dads sometimes. There's less than 10 people in the group, so I can truly support you. I know everybody's case. It's very high touch support, meaning that if you have a question after our call, you go into the chat and stick it in the chat and I'll reply to you. It's not 24-hour support. I check it every day, every other day, but it's a very high level of support. Plus, you get access to the Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. So there's more information about the group in my link in bio. And if you have more questions, if you're on TikTok and you have more questions, you can send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Just let me know that you saw me on a live. And I mean, I'll reply to you anyway, but let me know that you saw me on a live. I always find it very helpful. Can it be a texture thing, or is she just picky? I'm worried it could be more. I think I might have missed the first part of your question. So with textures and stuff, like I often have people say, like, it's sensory, it's SPD, like sensory processing disorder. Sensory processing disorder occurs in many other areas other than food. And I think a lot of parents think that it's only about food. And I'm not like saying everybody on this live is saying that, but like it impacts the child in many areas beyond food. For example, like clothing, like textures of clothing and fabric and stuff. And noises. So if you think it's texture, actually something that you can do right away right now is write a list. How many foods does your child eat reliably? Is it under 20? Is it close to 20? Red flag, number 1. Go through it. Are they eating a variety from all food groups? Chances are if it's 20 or less, they're not. Red flag. With textures, go and write down all their reliable foods and look for similarities in the texture, or look for differences. I had one mom on a call with me in our first session. She was really worried about sensory issues. And I had her daughter's list of reliable foods up in front of me, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, pear is on there, banana is on there, crackers are on there. There were like more. Actually, she only started with about 7 safe foods, which is a major red flag. Milk was on there. So she's actually eating a number of different textures. If your child is only eating one texture, that's a red flag. But if your child is eating, like, you might be surprised if you write down a list. So I'm telling you, this is a great thing, an activity for you to do, is to write down a list of the foods that your child eats and categorize them. Like, do it right now when we get off this live. Do it right this second, and see if there really is a pattern. And if there is, go and get it assessed. And if you look at it and you're like the client that I had and was like, oh, they eat this kind of fruit and that kind of fruit, and one's crunchy and one's soft and one's kind of gritty, and they eat crackers which are really crunchy. Like, they're eating plenty of textures. You're very welcome. I'm glad you found that helpful. All right. And this question here on Instagram, sorry, I've got to tap into it again to actually read the whole thing. I place a new food on 3.5-year-old's plate and say, here's new food. It's staying on your plate. That's great. Staying on your plate. Try it if you want. Basically a no pressure attempt. Is that right? She usually doesn't try it when I say that. You don't necessarily have to say it's a new food. You can just tell her what it is. Hey, this is cauliflower. Tell her how you cooked it. These are all strategies that we work on in the group and in the course as well. So it's not that there's one right way of doing it. There are several right ways of doing it, but there are also several less beneficial ways of doing it. So first thing is, you don't have to tell her it's a new food. Just name the food and tell her what it is. Tell her how you cooked it. So for example, the other night, I'm just going to use an example from my kid. My 6-year-old she's not picky for the most part. She's become slightly more picky because of outside influences. And cauliflower has been something that she has gone on and off with lately. And I actually put some of it into a soup that she loved. And I told her that cauliflower was in there and she was surprised. And so then last week we roasted a bunch of vegetables and some stuff. And I roasted the cauliflower, but I cut it into, like, so if you've got like the big head of cauliflower, right? Actually, I have a cauliflower crochet thing here. So you've got your head of cauliflower. I cut it into like 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I called them cauliflower steaks. She didn't want to try it. I gave her a tiny piece. I said, I'm going to give you a tiny piece. If you want it, you can eat it. You don't have to. I'll eat it, or your sister will eat it. Not a big deal. She did eat it and she loved it. And then when I offered to give her a big piece, she refused. She said, I don't want that. That's too big. And so I said, okay, well, what size piece would you like? And so I cut it into a smaller piece that she deemed appropriate, and I put it on her plate. And then she ended up pinching a bunch more from my plate. Okay. So the way you approach it, the things that you say, the conversations you have, having fun at the meal, like I said, like, okay, well, tell me what size you want, like keeping it really lighthearted. This is so important. These are strategies that we're not taught this. Doesn't come naturally. We get frustrated naturally. We say, fine, like, don't eat it then. Like, these are the things that make it worse. And these are the things that I help you swap around. Like, for the most part, like, I had one lady in my group, she put we do a midpoint check-in in the group so that you can let me know, is this, like, what are you still struggling with? That's like a major thing that you want to keep working on. So for the last 4 weeks of the group, I can give you all the attention and help you need on those things so that they don't get, swept under the rug. And she said, what was it that she said? She said, oh, she's had so many aha moments in the group where she's like, why didn't I think of that? And I have clients tell me that all the time. So yeah, if you feel like you've tried everything, I can promise you haven't. I had one of my first clients actually had a 10-year-old child, very picky, very sweets obsessed. She was sneaking sweets and things. And we worked together for about 7 months. But after about 2 months, Mum was telling me she no longer feels like the food police. She was afraid to leave the kitchen because she was worried her daughter would just eat like a bag of marshmallows. So she felt like she had to be in the kitchen all the time. And Like she would find candy wrappers in the bathroom, and she was worried about it because she had had an eating disorder as a young adult. Didn't want that same thing to happen to her child. So I want you to believe that it's really never too late to make these changes. And there are a lot of tools and strategies. One of the things that she told me is, I wish I'd found you earlier, which is why I recommend you start as early as possible, because if you have a young kid who's 2 or 3 who's a picky eater, it's much easier to reverse that than it is when you have a 10-year-old who's a picky eater. Yes, it can be done. It's just harder. It takes longer. It takes a lot more intention. You're dealing with a child who has a very high level thought process compared to a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds are still very smart. Trust me, they are. But the level is very different, 2-year-old to 10-year-old. So, yeah, it can be done. You haven't tried everything. This mum actually said, I thought I'd tried everything. Her daughter had been picky for 8 years. She thought she had tried everything. And now she can have an enjoyable meal with her daughter. Her daughter doesn't get up and go and get another meal, which is what she used to do. She doesn't tell her mum, who's a chef, she doesn't tell her mum anymore, I don't like your food. And they actually have a closer relationship. She told me a few times during our time working together that her daughter actually comes up and gives her a random hug, or she asked her to be tucked in, or she asked to have her mum read her a book. For a 10-year-old, that, like, a lot of you might have young kids. I've got young kids. I still read to them, and we snuggle and all that kind of stuff. But when you have an older kid, they don't always do that. So, like, when you fix the mealtime problems, the frustration, the stress between the two of you, you're actually healing your own relationship with your child. This is a big deal. It's much more important that you have a good relationship with your child than whether your child eats broccoli or not. I can help you have enjoyable meal times and have a good connection with your child. Okay, I'm seeing like a whole bunch of comments come in on TikTok. I feel like we've got a I think we've got a troll here. Just ignore her. You guys are all breaking the cycle of, telling kids that they have to eat something and they must try it. And like, that's a really big deal. Give yourself credit there for that. I need to start wrapping up because I've got half my batteries here are like dying and low, and I've got to go put a lot of washing on. So look, if you have more questions about the group coaching or the Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course, go and check out the links in my bio. And if you still have more questions, send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Just let me know you saw me on a live. And like I said, the group coaching program starts next week. Registration is open for less than a week. If you want to work with me, I highly recommend you go and register. If you pay in full, there's a code in the description. Make sure you type it in at the checkout. You can save 10%. And get started on the Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course like today or yesterday. Start right away so that when you get to the first group call, you already have all the like baseline education, like theory work already done, and you're ready to launch into the new stuff. All right. Thanks for joining. I had a really nice turnout today, and I will talk to you soon. I hope you have a great Sunday night or Monday morning, depending wherever you are in the world. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.